I never thought a simple evening could shatter my world. It was a quiet return from Aunt Linda's retirement party. The house was silent, almost eerily so, as I walked in. Marcus, my husband of 3 years, was sprawled on the couch, absorbed in his phone. "Hey, Evie," he mumbled without looking up. I forced a smile, my mind elsewhere. I headed straight for our bedroom, my thoughts on the cherished watch my late father had given me on my 21st birthday. It was worth more than $12,000, but its sentimental value was priceless. He had scrimped and saved for years to buy it for me, his only daughter. Each time I wore it, I felt his presence, his love. But as I opened the drawer where I always kept it, my heart sank. It was gone. Just gone. Panic surged through me. "Marcus," I called out, my voice trembling. He appeared in the doorway, his casual demeanor a stark contrast to my growing despair. "What's up?" he asked, finally looking up from his phone. "The watch. My watch is gone." I could barely get the words out. His eyebrows knitted in confusion. "Are you sure? Maybe you misplaced it?" "Misplaced it? I always kept it in the same spot. How could it just disappear?" "No, Marcus, it's been stolen. We need to call the police." I was near hysterical now, but Marcus shook his head, a strange certainty in his voice. "No need for that, Evie. It's definitely here in the house. Don't worry." His words hit me like a cold slap. How could he be so sure? Doubt and suspicion began to creep into my mind, mingling with my distress. And then it hit me. Clara, his mother. "You think your mother took it, don't you?" The accusation spilled out before I could stop it. Clara had always admired the watch, a little too keenly for my comfort. Marcus's face hardened. "Don't start with that, Evie. Mom wouldn't do such a thing." But I was beyond listening. My mind raced with anger and betrayal. Clara, with her nosy ways and her constant interference in our lives, it had to be her. "I'm calling the police," I declared, my decision firm. "No, Evie, don't." Marcus's voice was sharp, but I was already dialing. I reported the theft, my hands shaking. As I hung up, Marcus just stared at me, a mixture of disbelief and anger on his face. "I can't believe you just did that," he said quietly. I wanted to scream, to cry, to lash out, but instead, I stood there, feeling the first cracks in our marriage. The watch was gone, but something more valuable had been lost. Trust. As Marcus retreated to the living room, I slumped against the wall, a sense of isolation wrapping around me. The police would come, questions would be asked, and accusations made. But deep down I knew that no matter what happened next, things would never be the same again. In that moment, I realized the bitter truth. I was living with a man who might choose his mother over his wife, and the thought chilled me to the bone. The days that followed were a blur of cold silences and unspoken accusations. Clara, Marcus's mother, was oblivious to the storm brewing in our home, or so it seemed. Her visits, once merely annoying, now felt like a deliberate invasion. On a Friday evening, Clara arrived with her usual pomp. "Evelyn, darling, I brought your favorite lemon pound cake," she announced, placing the cake on the kitchen counter as if she owned the place. I forced a smile, my grip tightening on the kitchen towel. "Thank you, Clara. That's thoughtful." Clara waltzed around the kitchen, humming a tune, while I struggled to keep my composure. She opened cabinets, rearranged my spices, her every action setting my nerves on edge. Marcus, as usual, was no help. "Mom's just trying to be nice, Evie. Don't be so uptight," he whispered, his hand on my shoulder. I shrugged off his touch, my frustration boiling over. "Nice? Marcus, she's treating our home like it's her personal playground." Before he could respond, Clara called out, "Evelyn, darling, why don't you set the table? I'll finish up here." Set the table? In my own home? I felt like a guest, and a barely tolerated one at that. Dinner was an excruciating affair. Clara dominated the conversation, her every word dripping with condescension. "Evelyn, you really should try this new facial cream I found. It does wonders for those pesky wrinkles." I bit my tongue, my anger simmering. Marcus just smiled, oblivious to the barbs hidden in his mother's words. The final straw came when Clara started discussing our personal finances, a topic I had always considered private. "Marcus, dear, you really should invest in real estate. Evelyn's little job is cute, but you need something more substantial for the future." I couldn't take it anymore. "Clara, with all due respect, our finances are none of your concern." The room fell silent. Clara's eyes narrowed, a glint of malice in them. "Oh, I see. Well, I'm just trying to look out for my son. After all, we can't all come from money, can we?" Her words stung, a reminder of the modest background I came from. I felt Marcus's hand on mine, a silent plea for peace. But peace was the last thing on my mind. As Clara continued to prattle on, oblivious to the hurt she had caused, a plan began to form in my mind. If Marcus wouldn't stand up to his mother, then I would. Clara needed to learn that she couldn't just walk over people, and I was going to be the one to teach her. After dinner, I excused myself, claiming a headache. Alone in our bedroom, I allowed the tears to flow. Marcus's mother was ruining our marriage, and he was letting her. But I wasn't going to be a victim any longer. Clara had taken my watch, my peace, and my dignity. It was time for her to pay. My mind raced with ideas, each more satisfying than the last. Revenge, they say, is a dish best served cold, and I was ready to serve it up in spades. Clara had no idea what she had unleashed. But she would. Oh, she definitely would. The following week was a slow burn of anticipation. Each day, I plotted my revenge against Clara, fantasizing about the moment I would put her in her place. But nothing prepared me for the audacity of her next move. It was a Saturday morning. Clara had arrived unannounced, as was her habit now. Marcus had stepped out to run errands, leaving me alone with her. The tension in the air was palpable. I was in the living room, trying to read, when Clara sauntered in, a smug smile on her face, and there it was on her wrist, my watch. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of rage and disbelief. "That's my watch," I said, my voice low and dangerous. Clara glanced at the watch nonchalantly. "Oh, this old thing, I found it lying around. Thought it might suit me." I stood up, my hands shaking. "You had no right to take it. It's mine." Clara laughed, a cold, harsh sound. "Finders keepers, dear. Besides, it looks better on me." The nerve of her. I felt a scream building inside me, but I swallowed it down. This wasn't just about the watch anymore. This was about respect, about boundaries. "You need to give it back. Now," I demanded, my voice steely. Clara waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, don't be such a drama queen, Evelyn. It's just a watch." Just a watch? It was the last gift from my father, a symbol of his love and sacrifice. And she treated it like a trinket. I took a deep breath, trying to control the tempest inside me. "You don't understand. That watch means a lot to me. You have no idea." But Clara just smirked. "Well, now it means a lot to me too, so I guess I'll be keeping it." I couldn't believe her audacity. It was clear she had no intention of returning it. My mind raced with anger and hurt. This was a declaration of war. "Fine, keep it. But remember, Clara, every action has consequences," I said, my voice icy. Clara laughed again, clearly amused by my threat. "Oh, Evelyn, always so dramatic." "Don't worry, I'll take good care of your precious watch." As she sauntered out of the room, I felt a resolve solidify within me. Clara had crossed a line, and I was no longer going to play the passive victim. Marcus returned home later, and I confronted him. "Your mother took my watch. She's wearing it like it's hers." Marcus sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Mom can be a bit eccentric. I'm sure she didn't mean any harm." Eccentric? This was outright theft. I could barely contain my fury. "Marcus, this isn't about being eccentric. She stole from me, from us, and you're just going to let her get away with it?" He avoided my gaze, a sure sign of his discomfort. "I'll talk to her, Evie. I promise." Talk to her? That was it? I realized then that Marcus would never stand up to his mother. It was always going to be me against her. But I was ready. Clara had made a powerful enemy in me, and I was going to make sure she regretted ever crossing me. I lay in bed that night, unable to sleep, my mind churning with plans of revenge. Clara had underestimated me, and she was going to pay for it. I was going to get my watch back, and I was going to make her suffer for ever thinking she could take it from me. The battle lines were drawn, and I was ready to fight. Clara had no idea what was coming for her, but she would learn. They all would. The days leading up to my plan were filled with a simmering rage. Clara's audacity to take my watch and flaunt it was unbearable. But what I discovered next pushed me over the edge. It was a Thursday evening, and Marcus was late from work. I decided to do some cleaning to distract myself. As I was tidying up the guest room, I stumbled upon something that made my blood run cold. Clara's belongings, neatly tucked away in the closet. Fury and betrayal swirled within me. I confronted Marcus as soon as he walked through the door. "Why are Clara's things in our guest room?" I demanded, barely containing my anger. Marcus's face paled. She's been staying here while we're at work. She said it was to help out around the house. Staying here? Without my knowledge? I felt like I was in a nightmare. And you agreed to this? Behind my back? I was shaking with rage. Marcus tried to placate me. She's just trying to be helpful, Evie. I didn't think it would be a big deal. Not a big deal? His mother, the woman who had stolen from me, was invading our home, and he thought it wasn't a big deal? This is our home, Marcus. Your mother has no right to be here without my consent. Marcus sighed, looking exhausted. I'll talk to her, Evie. I'll sort it out. But his promises were empty. I knew then that I had to take matters into my own hands. The next day I waited for Clara to arrive. The doorbell rang, and I opened it to find her standing there, the stolen watch glittering on her wrist. Evelyn, dear, I brought some groceries, she said, breezing past me. I closed the door and faced her, my resolve steeling. Clara, we need to talk. She looked at me, a smirk playing on her lips. About what, dear? About the watch, about you staying here without my knowledge. This ends now. Clara laughed, a sound that grated on my nerves. Oh, Evelyn, you're being ridiculous. I'm just helping out my son. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. You're not helping, Clara. You're overstepping and you're stealing. I want my watch back, and I want you out of this house. Clara's expression hardened. I'm not going anywhere, Evelyn, and the watch is mine now. Get used to it. Her blatant disrespect and arrogance fueled my anger. This is not the end of this, Clara. I will get my watch back, and I will make sure you regret ever crossing me. Clara scoffed. Threats, Evelyn, really? You're no match for me. But she was wrong. I was more than a match for her, and I was going to prove it. As she went about her day, invading my space and my life, I put my plan into action. I contacted a lawyer, ready to fight for my rights, for my dignity. Clara had underestimated me, but she was about to find out just how determined I was. The battle lines were drawn. Clara had made a grave mistake, and she would soon realize just how costly it was. I lay in bed that night, my mind racing with plans and strategies. I would not rest until I had reclaimed what was mine and put Clara in her place. She had awoken a fire in me, and I was ready to burn everything down if I had to. The war was on, and I was ready to fight to the bitter end. Clara had no idea what she had unleashed, but she would. She would learn that some lines should never be crossed. The day of reckoning arrived sooner than I expected. It was a crisp Saturday morning when I set my plan into motion. I waited for Clara to leave the house for her usual shopping, the watch conspicuously flashing on her wrist. The moment the door closed behind her, I made my move. I called the police, my voice steady but filled with righteous anger. I'd like to report a theft. The thief is my mother-in-law, Clara. She's stolen a very expensive watch from me, and I have proof. The operator's calm voice was a stark contrast to the storm raging within me. We'll send an officer over to take your statement, ma'am. Please ensure the item is indeed missing and prepare any evidence you have. I hung up, my heart pounding in anticipation. Today, Clara's reign of terror would end. I didn't have to wait long. The police arrived just as Clara was returning, her arms laden with shopping bags. The look on her face when she saw the police car was worth everything I had endured. What's going on, Evelyn? Why are the police here? Clara's voice trembled, a crack in her usually composed demeanor. I've reported the theft of my watch, the one you're wearing, I said, my voice cold. Clara's face drained of color. You can't be serious. This is just a family matter. The police officers stepped in, their presence authoritative. Ma'am, we need to ask you some questions about the watch you're wearing. Clara's composure crumbled as she realized the gravity of the situation. This is just a misunderstanding. Evelyn gave me this watch. I stood firm, my resolve unshaken. That's a lie. That watch was stolen from me and I want it back. The officers took statements from both of us. Clara's lies twisted and turned, but the truth was clear as day. The evidence was on her wrist. Finally, with a heavy heart, the police took Clara into custody. As she was led away, her eyes met mine, filled with betrayal and fear. But I felt no sympathy. She had brought this upon herself. Marcus arrived in the midst of the chaos, his face a mask of confusion and concern. Evelyn, what's happening? Why is my mother being arrested? I looked at him, the man I had loved, now a stranger to me. She stole my watch, Marcus, and you did nothing, so I did what I had to. He looked lost, torn between his wife and his mother. But Evelyn, she's my mother. Couldn't we have handled this privately? Privately? After everything Clara had done? No, Marcus. This isn't just about a watch. It's about respect, boundaries, and truth. Something your mother knows nothing about. As the police car drove away, I felt a sense of closure. The watch was returned to me, a little worse for wear, but still precious. Marcus tried to talk to me, to explain, to apologize, but his words fell on deaf ears. Clara's arrest had exposed the deep cracks in our marriage, cracks that perhaps had always been there. I retreated into the house, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. I had stood up for myself against Clara, but now I faced a new challenge, deciding the fate of my marriage. As I sat alone, the house eerily quiet, I realized that this was just the beginning. Clara's downfall was my victory, but it was also a stark reminder of the choices I had to make. I had fought for my dignity and won. Now it was time to fight for my future. The fallout from Clara's arrest was immediate and tumultuous. The news spread like wildfire, igniting whispers and stares in our community. But the hardest part was facing Marcus, who seemed a shadow of the man I married. A few days later, Marcus came to me, his eyes weary and voice heavy. "Evelyn, Mom's in trouble. She's facing serious charges, and her savings, they're gone. She's talking about selling her house." I listened, a mix of vindication and sadness swirling inside me. "Marcus, she brought this on herself. She stole from me, from us. There are consequences to actions. But she's my mother, Evelyn. I can't just abandon her," he pleaded, his loyalty torn. I sighed, my heart aching. "I understand she's your mother, Marcus, but where was your loyalty when I needed you, when she was invading our home, our life?" He had no answer, his silence speaking volumes. The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings and strained silence at home. Clara's once proud demeanor crumbled under the weight of her actions. She was found guilty and faced not only legal repercussions but also public shame. Marcus, caught in the crossfire, suffered at work. His performance declined, and soon rumors of his mother's actions reached his workplace. He resigned, unable to bear the humiliation and stress. One evening, as we sat in our living room, the distance between us like a chasm, Marcus spoke, his voice barely a whisper. "Evelyn, I think Mom and we're gonna move. Start over somewhere else." I looked at him, the man I had once loved so deeply. "And what about us, Marcus?" He looked at me, pain etched on his face. "I don't know, Evelyn. I don't know if there's an us anymore." The words hung in the air, a painful truth we both had avoided. As Marcus and Clara's world unraveled, I felt a bitter satisfaction. Clara had paid the price for her arrogance and deceit. But the cost was high, too high. The day Marcus left, the house felt empty, a shell of the home we had built together. I watched as he drove away, Clara in the passenger seat, both defeated and broken. I sat alone, the silence deafening. My revenge had been successful, but it left me hollow. I had stood up for myself, but at what cost? I thought about the watch, now safely tucked away in my drawer. It was more than just a timepiece. It was a reminder of my strength, my resilience, but it was also a reminder of the price of revenge. The sweet satisfaction was fleeting, replaced by a lingering sadness. I had won the battle, but the war had taken its toll. As I sat in the quiet of my home, I realized that this was not the end, but a new beginning. I had to rebuild, to find myself again. The watch, my father's gift, was a symbol of that journey, a journey to rediscover who I was, beyond the scars of betrayal and revenge. The path ahead was uncertain, but I was ready to face it. With or without Marcus, I would move forward, stronger and wiser. Karma had struck, and its lessons were harsh but clear. It was time to leave the past behind and embrace a new future. One step at a time. In the weeks following Marcus's departure, I found myself in a state of reflection. The house, once filled with the noise of our life together, now echoed with silence. It was in this silence that I began to confront the reality of what had transpired. My revenge against Clara had been successful, but it had come at a great cost. I had lost my husband, and in many ways, a part of myself. But amidst the ruins, I found a sense of empowerment. I had stood up for myself, something I realized I had been afraid to do for too long. One evening, as I sat looking at the watch, a symbol of my victory and loss, my phone rang. It was Marcus. His voice was different, tinged with regret and sadness. "Evelyn, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. For everything. I should have stood by you. I let you down." I listened, a myriad of emotions swirling within me. Thank you, Marcus. That means a lot, but I think it's too late for us now. There was a pause, heavy with unspoken words. I know, he finally said. I just hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me someday. I sighed, a weight lifting off my shoulders. I already have, Marcus, but forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. We both need to move on. After the call, I felt a sense of closure. The chapter of my life with Marcus and Clara was over, but a new one was waiting to be written. In the months that followed, I focused on myself. I reconnected with old friends, took up hobbies I had long neglected, and started to rebuild my life, piece by piece. Clara, on the other hand, faced her own demons. The legal consequences of her actions had left her financially and emotionally drained. The once proud and imposing figure was now a shadow of her former self. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard of her struggles, but I felt no joy in her downfall. It was a sad end to a sad story. As for Marcus, he tried to rebuild his relationship with his mother, but the damage was done. Their bond, once unbreakable, was now fragile and strained. He moved to a different city, starting over in a bid to escape the shadows of the past. And as for me, I learned to find joy in the little things. The watch, once a symbol of conflict, became a reminder of my strength and resilience. It was a testament to my ability to overcome adversity, to stand up for what was right. I realized that life was too short to be spent in anger and revenge. The experiences had taught me the value of forgiveness, not for the sake of others, but for my own peace. As I moved forward, I carried with me the lessons of the past. I had faced betrayal and come out stronger. I had learned the hard way that sometimes the best revenge is to let go and live well. The watch ticked on, marking not just the passage of time, but the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where I was the author, writing a story of hope, healing, and new beginnings. In the end, I knew that the greatest revenge was in living a life full of happiness, a life that was mine and mine alone. And with that realization, I stepped into a future filled with endless possibilities, the watch on my wrist a constant companion on this journey.